Hey everybody, Monday here at Secret City Garage. Got a lot done through the week. A couple days, like Thursday and Friday, Kenny came and helped me with Half Baked. Got a ton done there, and I want to talk a little bit about that and show you some of what Jeff got done too. So here goes nothing. We got Sean fit in the car. We got the seat mounted and the steering column mocked up where it needs to be so we can get that mounted. Of course the dash is in, we showed you that. We're to the point now where we're starting to put parts and pieces in. We'll put the window net in and shifter mount and all that, but as I said before, we got the brake pedal in place and the seat in here, so we know Sean fit in it comfortable. Then we got it mounted, and once that was all done, we mocked up the steering column and had him come over here and set in it just to make sure that the position was right and that you get your knee underneath the steering wheel to get on the brake pedal, because I've seen guys build cars like that and they get the steering wheel so low that the guy can't pick his foot up and put his foot on the brake pedal, so that's real important. We got all that going on. It's like rough tack down in the bottom, and then we'll make a mount that goes over to the A-pillar bar to help support the top of it. And Sean really wanted the steering column up higher through the notch in the dash, but we couldn't do that, and I'll show you why. Walk around this way. When you do that, it would have put the steering column right in front of the exhaust ports right here, and we'd have never been able to get headers on this thing. And that's one of the things, like I've talked about before in other videos, is serviceability. You got to be able to get these things together and apart. You know, it's not like a street rod where you put it together and leave it together for 10 years. These things get general maintenance, and there's a lot to that. So you got to take all this stuff into consideration when you're building them. And that's why we put the dummy motor back in it, just to make sure that we weren't getting in the way of something, where it clear the cylinder heads and clear everything else. So that's what we got going on here. You can see master cylinders. I talked about that in the last video, but we're like I say, getting ready to finish mounting all this stuff up. Of course, this is a tilt column. He wanted a more stock column and a removable steering wheel. It adds weight to the car. He doesn't really care, but you know, if it were my car, we'd put an 1¼ inch tube in there, lightweight, removable like this. I'm good with this. This is what the customer wants. This is what we're doing. So, anywho, over on the Willys, I spent a bunch of time body working the doors. I got them. We're trying to get these ready to spray some 2K primer on them to cover up the filler, and then on this inner door on the driver's side, you can see there I had to glass a section back in there because I actually cut too much out of the way when I was putting the first window in. So I'm trying to repair that, and I've got the outer edge of the door done, so I got to get that finished up. More fiberglass, yay! So working on that. But like I said before, got a few things to do to finish this up so I can get her powder coated. Got to talk to a painter here pretty soon. Once I get the doors and the front end hung on, I got a painter that I'm going to have look at this and see what he thinks. So I'll walk you back in the back, show you Half Baked. We haven't done anything on the duster because we don't have any parts yet. We're still waiting on them, which, as you all well know, it's just part of it. This thing here, we got a lot done. As you can see, these tubes right here, they simulate the height of a spring at ride height. This car was at 9 3/4 ride height. The spring was, before I tore it apart and measured all that stuff. And these tubes I have here are 10 inches. And they have a ring, I don't know if you can see it, but like right in the top edge here, there's a ring welded in there that helps register the tube to the piece on the spring cup. There's like an inner piece and it registers to that to keep it centered. So I had some lower spring cups I took off of another car, saved them, I modified them, and then on the top it had these spring cups here are adjustable. This piece threads up and down. They were in the car, and this is something I wanted to try. I know some of you have seen my other spring mounts, but this is just something I wanted to try, and I didn't want to try it on a customer's car. So far it seems to be working okay. It's going to make the panhard bar a little bit more challenging, but I'll share that. As you can see, to make this work, I had to put uprights into the main hoop supports so I could get enough height there to get what I needed. So, and that'll all be covered up by tin work. But then, as you can see, main hoop supports are in. The cage is pretty much finished, other than the door bars, and I got to put a dash bar in it. So I'll probably do the dash bar once I get the steering column located, because this has like a race style steering column that I'll put back in it. But I have to have the seat and the pedals in the car first before I locate the steering wheel, just like Sean's car. But main hoop, upper hoops all in, the diagonal and the roof. As I say, triangles are stronger than rectangles. So I try to make all this stuff work. If you look here, how I do this car has X in the back, and I try to make the X hit at about the same spot that the roof diagonal goes in, you know, just to add some more strength to the upper part of the car. What you want is, if the car rolls over, you don't want that corner pushing in this way or pushing that way. So that's what that diagonal does. It helps add strength to those A-pillar corners. I'll put gussets up in there yet. I have not done that yet. We ran out of time, but I'll do that. Dash bars and the door bars are removable, or going to be removable. I got these pieces here from Summit. You can see the part number and everything. I got them from Summit, and I'll put them in to make the door bars swing out. So one of the tips I want to talk about here is welding this all together. As you can see, it's welded completely all the way around, and how I do that is I fit the main hoop first, and I made the main hoop, the angle of the main hoop this way, the same as the B pillar, so they line up, and I kept it back a little bit. What I do is I put the main hoop in, and then I'll put those main hoop supports back there in. Tack them in place to the cage, okay? Then I use an angle finder to make sure that the main hoop is at the same angle as the B pillar, both sides. Tack them in place. I had to have Kenny help me slide them around, and I tack them in the back, okay? Then what I do is I put the upper hoop in. I fit this upper hoop in, get that where I want it. Then I put my A-pillar bars in. I tack them in place so that I know that this is level here, and then you'll see it's going a little bit of a downward angle there, but it's still plenty of headroom. Sometimes I'll put a bend, like a 15-degree bend in that corner there. It'll be 15 down and 15 in, about 8 inches in. That way it will tie in a little higher, but it really didn't need it on this car because I clear so well in it, because it's a sedan. Sedans are 2 inches taller than a hardtop, in the Chevy 2s anyways. Okay, once I get all that stuff tacked together, and like I say, I'll tack these, just tack it right out here where I can get to it real easy. What I do is I put these little gussets in to help hold the hoop where it needs to be. Right there, I get those tacked in, and then I'll get in there and I'll weld as much of this stuff as I can in place. Then, up in here, the little tack that I have in here, I'll knock this tack loose, and then I'll take the A-pillar bars out. I'll take them out, and then I can knock the tacks loose that I've got down here on the main hoop, and I'll lay this thing down in the car so I can weld the top of everything. And of course, the main hoop supports there, they're tacked well on the back, okay? So I leave them there, knock that tack loose up there on both sides, lay it down, weld it up, then I can push this thing right back up in place, and then I can finish weld those, because I can get to all that stuff inside the car. Typically what I do when I do them, like these, I put the main hoop supports there are plumb with the outside of the frame rail, because you can see where that upright goes there. It's plumb with the outside of the rail, so the wheel tubs will fasten on it right without any difficulties. And it moves it a little pretty far to the outside, but there's still plenty of room. If you see, there's plenty of room to get around there and weld. So then I can tack them back in. Then I shove my A-pillar bars back where they belong, tack all that stuff in place, and then I can finish weld everything and get to it all. The X, as you can see, is real easy to get to all the way around. If you're a contortionist, this stuff's easy, I should say. And it just makes it so you can weld all the way around this stuff. Now, per NHRA rules, you don't need this gusset if it's completely welded. But if you can't weld it all the way around, you have to have that gusset. And that gusset has to be 4 inches minimum on the inside. You read the rule book and it says 4-inch minimum, but it doesn't say inside or outside. The tech guys, they want that 4 inches on the inside. So like I say, I'll end up putting gussets up here because a gusset doubles the strength of the joint, and I want this thing strong. So getting to the point, and you'll see my upper window net mounts in already, because I wanted to put that in case I had to weld it when it was laying down. And I put that in so that it's level. Later on I'll put the lower mount in and all that stuff, because I can get to that easy to weld. But the shock cups, you can see I put some 1/8 inch thick plating on top of that to gusset it, and I'll put gusseting on the lower cups too. I just haven't gotten there yet. I'll do that when I pull the rear end out to finish weld it. But yeah, that's where I'm at with a half-baked. She's turning out pretty cool so far. I will start in the back and work my way forwards as I'm putting this thing together. My next step will be, I'll put a rear cross member in this thing to go across the back here. But I think Jeff sent me a video of a guy that put his hitch behind the license plate on one of these, and the plate attached to a removable piece. And I think I'm going to put my receiver, I'll put it in the middle there and hide it the same way, so that I can take it out and slide my license plate in and pin it in. So I thought that was pretty cool. You know, I'll make sure that the bumper bolts are easy to access and all that. And as well, now that the main hoop supports are in and everything's all welded, I can knock this chunk out of the back here and finish these pieces in here, get the bumper mounted on it, finish all that, and get my, you know, where my electrical disconnect comes out, it'll be over here in this corner somewhere. So mount the fuel cell, all that stuff. And my trunk, like the trunk supports here, they need some TLC so I can get the trunk hinges bolted back in it. But those will trim off and those will weld back into that. And then I'll have to put some sort of support. I don't know if you can see it. You probably can't, but up in here, if you look, you can see, the sunlight's not helping any, but there's pieces that stick down there that were originally welded into the top of the wheelhouse. Okay, now those help hold the roof up, and you have to do something to support that. If you don't, like if you don't add something in there, what's going to happen is the quarter panel will buckle through here, because all the weight of the roof and everything's right there on that part of the car. So I'll get some sort of tubing in there at a later point and show you all how I did that. So But yeah, you can see a little bit like up in there. Yeah, I'll run a piece of tubing across there somehow and get some strength in there to help hold that roof section up. So, but anywho, that's what's happening with Half Baked and everything else in the shop. We got a lot going on and having a lot of fun. Hey, thanks for watching. I'll keep y'all in the loop.